So, hello, Professor, and it's really an amazing opportunity for me to meet you outside, being a co-op student. Um, uh, I actually send you this invitation. It's because I am incredibly appreciate your work, and that a lot of student doesn't really understand is how competitive it is outside to get these co-op opportunities. When I am here, I realized that I'm a co-op student, so I am at work now right now, so people doesn't know students, well, it doesn't know that how you and your team are doing incredibly and behind the scene an amazing work for everybody. So it's an opportunity for us to know more about you and your team, and to know how you keep up with this whole competitive competition outside. So I'll start my question. It was like, we would like to know more about you. We would like to know about your education background, your life journey. If anything you want to share with us about yourself, please go ahead.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Ahmed, for all those lovely, kind words about our co-op department. And yes, we do work very hard to try and secure work terms for our co-op students, because that's what we believe in. That's why we're here. So my journey began a long time ago. All right. Actually, probably right out of high school. You know how they say your life can take different paths and you have to make changes as life happens to you. When I was in high school, I wanted to be a phys ed teacher, right? I was a jock. I will admit it. I was very athletic. I played field hockey, softball, badminton. And so one of my field hockey coach said to me, "You're a great leader. You should maybe think about, becoming a teacher or, something in physical education." I said, "Well, that's a great idea." So I went to school. I went to university in Wolfville, Nova Scotia. I'm actually from the Maritimes, so I consider myself an East Coaster, even though I've been in Ontario now since 1999. I consider myself still an East Coaster. And so I went to Acadia University in Wolfville, very, very beautiful school and very excellent school. And I graduated with a Bachelor of Arts in Rec and Physical Education with a minor in sociology. My next plan was to go and take a Bachelor of Education, because if I wanted to be a teacher, obviously, I needed to get more education. Here's where life happens. My mother passed away. I had no home. So I had to figure out what I was going to do with my life. I had to go find a job, find a place to live. I was lucky enough to go live with my aunt and uncle for a bit, but then I had to go to a place where I was going to have more opportunities. So that's what happened with that dream of becoming a phys ed teacher, because I also blew out my knee. So I have a bionic knee. So my career as a phys ed teacher was kaput. I was lucky enough in 1985 to secure a position with a federally funded program for young adults. And that's where I fell into this role as an employment counselor. So I was working with students, I should say clients, young adults who had a disadvantage. They didn't have a grade 12. They might have had a previous criminal record. They were from a poorer area in Halifax, Nova Scotia. And this is also where I did my first facilitation, my first teaching role, offering a 3-week job finding club to students to help them look for work. I have been doing this work ever since. So for 39 years, I have been in a career and employment counselor in various iterations with both public and private corporations. And then when I moved up here in 1999, I wanted to have a change. my educational goals, I wanted to pursue more education. And so when I moved up here, I found a job, which was funny. We talk about networking in our classes, right? And how important networking is for job searching and reaching out to employers. Well, when I first moved up here, I went to a local employment agency, not agency, a employment center run by the government. And I met this person, one of the staff people there, and she said, "Oh, you're new here. Where are you from?" And I said, "Well, I'm from Nova Scotia." She goes, "Oh my goodness, my husband is from Nova Scotia." I said, "Oh, wow, small world." And she goes, "Well, what are you looking for?" And I said, "Well, I actually do what you do. I was an employment counselor supervisor down in Nova Scotia." And she goes, "Oh, do you have your resume handy?" And I said, "Well, actually, I've just finished it." And I passed it to her. 10 minutes later, she comes out with her supervisor and says, "We've got a 3-month contract coming up. Would you like to apply?" I said, "Okay." And then 2 weeks later, I was employed. And so this person, this staff person that helped me on that day is still a really good friend of mine. She's my best friend. We became really good friends. And then 5 years later, when she had to move to a new position, I helped her get a job where I was working. So networking is a give and take, right?
Yeah.
When I decided to move up here, I chose to take an HR program at Durham College. Shh, don't tell anybody it wasn't Centennial, okay? But I went to Durham College, okay?
Nobody will know.
Nobody will know, good,
Yeah.
okay. So I went to Durham College and took it part-time because I was working, right? So I was working full-time, so I could only take this course part-time. When I finished this course, I secured a placement with Children's Aid Society. And while I was on that placement, I saw a posting for a student advisor at Centennial College. And this was back in 2007. Okay. So I applied for this job in 2007 and I wrote a different cover letter because they were asking for a student advisor, somebody to help students with, making program choices. What's good for me? What do I need to look at? So I wrote a cover letter that was a little different and I told them my story because I know I tell all of my students, what's your story, right? Why did you get involved in your program? What do you want to do? So I wrote a cover letter about my story that when I was in high school, I was about to fail a grade and no matter how much I cried and everything, my guidance counselor and my principal would not sign off for me to go into a vocational path instead of an academic path. They said, "You are college and university material. You're not going to be back then what they called a secretary. You're not going to be admin assistant. You have more potential than that." So they wouldn't let me do that. I had to continue on in school. And then you guessed it, I graduated with honors. I went to college, graduated from there, went to college again, graduated with honors. And so I told this story in the cover letter. I said, without the support and confidence from my guidance counselor and my principal, who knows where I'd be, right? Who knows what choices I would have made? So these people had faith in me to support me moving forward. And so I put in my letter, this is what I want to give back to students at the college. This is what I want to tell them my story and say, you have help, you have support. And 2 days later, I got a call from the vice president of the college who said, "We need to meet you. You're exactly who we're looking for." So that's how I became involved with the college since 2007.
Oh, we can say how lucky we are. This is how we lucky we are. Yeah, have you.
Yeah, yeah. And then I've moved up. So I started off on a maternity leave for a year as a student advisor. And then I applied for student employment advisor, which is within my department now, career services and cooperative education. And then in 2010, I was asked to help teach some of the co-op classes because we were very busy. I said, sure. So basically, I've been teaching the co-op classes since 2010. And then in 2013, I applied for and was earned, I guess, the co-op advisor position. So since 2013, I've been strictly devoted to co-op.
That's amazing journey, Professor. Starting
Well,
from
it took me a while to get here. Okay,
yeah,
it was kind of a different path, but I'm teaching. Okay,
yeah.
this is what I'm teaching. This worked out. It wasn't the route I thought I was going to go, and that's okay, right? However you get here, it's a life journey. It's experience that you gain along the way. And to me, it was worth it because I learned a lot about myself and what I actually wanted along the way.
Oh, great. That will take us to the next question. If you look at college student right now and want to advise them, I'll give them one piece of advice that that's a mistake you probably made and they still making it. What that advice would be?
What that advice would be is know yourself. Have an idea of what you want to do, not what others think you should do. Know what you want because this is your life journey. This is where you want to be. And I know there are sometimes outside influences that we have to be aware of. But for the most part, you need to know yourself. What do you want to achieve? Picture yourself doing a job. Picture yourself what would it be? Think about what skills and knowledge you have or could develop over the years in your program, in your academic studies, your work experience. Think about what is going to make you fulfilled in your work. And it doesn't have to be about earning the most money, all right? Because money, when you're working in a job that you do not like, is not going to help. You're not going to enjoy your job. So, and when you consider we spend a lot of our time at work, we should choose an occupation that we're going to enjoy, be happy to go to work every day because it fulfills us, it satisfies our needs. So one of the first things I say in my classes is, what do you want to do? What kind of job are you looking for? Do your research. So then you're going to be able to make some informed decisions. Because how do you know what to look for if you don't know what's out there, right? So have a look at yourself and take chances. All right, do what I did. Take chances, right? It may have not be the exact job you want, but take a chance. Because life sometimes throws you roadblocks, and having those roadblocks put in your way actually makes you think and more strategically and become a problem solver. And then you can change or adapt what you wanted to pursue to something else that may suit you even better.
Great, Professor. Really, I'm taken by these words, but
I'm glad I'm answering them okay.
but some students will say like sometimes here or back in our country, it's I don't have that much choice. It's what they can provide me. It's what I have to take to survive. They would say,
Yeah,
or to get a job.
absolutely. Yes. Yeah. And we've all had to take those survivor jobs. Okay. Like when back when I was supposed to graduate from my program and everything, I had to find a survivor job. I had to find a place to live. So you do that. But those also give you strength and knowledge and more confidence in yourself. And those transferable skills that you get from doing those survivor jobs are just as important as the technical skills to an employer. I say this all the time to my co-op students and any students that I talk with, that those transferable skills, the communication, the teamwork, the problem solving, the right attitude will take you farther sometimes than those technical skills because they teach you those technical skills on the job, right? So students coming in and making choices, think about why you're taking your program. What specifically about this program are you hoping to achieve? All right. So, and the industry that you could work in, the types of positions. You have to do your homework. You have to do your research, because you can't really go after something if you don't know enough about it. And then you're going to be able to make informed decisions about what's going to be best for you. And then sometimes what happens is you go out on a work term and, oh my gosh, I like this. I want to stay here, right? I want to do this. I have a lot of biotech students that switch over into food science. Okay. And you do the same kind of skills, you do the same kind of techniques and learn the same kind of things in your first year. And then, oh, I think I might like this better. But that's what co-op is all about, is to give you that exposure to different areas so that you're going to have a better idea of what you might want to pursue later on. You can change your mind, right? You have the option to change your mind. That's another thing I want to tell people is you can change your careers. You can, okay? When I first started out way back, I wanted to go into hospitality and tourism too. I thought I was going to go become a tour guide and be able to travel all over the world. Well, no, I didn't know that. Didn't suit me at all, right? Then I took a Bachelor of Child Studies for a year because I love children. No, it was more admin. I was just doing plans and programs. I wasn't working with kids. Nope, that's not going to suit me either. So then I actually took a year off. All right. And I worked. All right. Before I went to Acadia, I worked for a year. And then that's when I took a year off and thought about what I wanted to do. I did some research. I looked at things. And I went back to what my field hockey coach had told me. You're a good leader. You're good at sports. Try this. And that's when I went to Acadia for my rec and visit. So I've taken a roundabout route to get where I wanted to go. But everything that I did had meaning and purpose and gave me direction to go forward. So don't be afraid to make changes. All right? Don't be afraid to do that. Most times, and in this particular time, most people aren't going to have careers for 40 and 50 years anymore like we used to, correct? Right? And people will change. They do say, the experts say that people change their careers 5 to 7 times within their lifetime. All right? And that could just mean different jobs within a career path, or it could be completely different things all the way through. But that is kind of normal. And so don't be afraid to take those chances. If it's not what you want to do, try another option.
Oh, I am a live example.
You are an example of that as well.
Chemistry to biotechnology, it's still related, but it's not completely.
Exactly, right? So me starting off in rec and phys ed and then working with people and now teaching, different route, but we got there, okay? Or we will get there. And so it means you just have to have confidence in yourself and take a chance. But taking that chance, use the supports and services that are available to help you do that, so that you can make informed decisions about what you're going to do. The worst thing you could do is plow ahead and then realize, oh, wait a minute, there's no jobs in this field. There's not enough money to be earned. I'm only going to make minimum wage for the rest of my life in this job. There's things that you need to know ahead of time before you pursue anything new. Always do your research.
Absolutely. I think this is a problem with as a college student right now. I think with us, like we don't do our research that much, even though we have a lot of resources available, but we are busy abusing these resources.
Yeah, and that's another thing that we do consider is we know you're busy. We absolutely get that. You have a heavy course load for biotechnology. You have your labs and everything. But one of the things I always say is, you've got these services available. You've paid for them. Use them. Make them work for you. Okay, so we're here. book appointments with us, use our resources, come to our events at the college, all right, like career events, job fairs, network with people. Your professors are great resources for you, but so is the career services and cooperative education team. But you have to reach out. You have to make those connections. And one piece of advice I would give is don't wait till the end. Use these resources all the way through, okay? Because you never know what can happen. I had a biotech student who came through co-op and everything, and is now one of your professors, right? Do you know Steve Bouladakis, who is your chair? The chair.
Yes, yeah.
He's a co-op student. He came through the co-op program many years ago at Centennial. Okay, so he's a co-op student. All right. So co-op can do wonders for you, but then sometimes students aren't ready for co-op, and that's okay. And they figure that out when they get into the co-op program. But then we have other services that are available to the co-op students, or the non-co-op students, I should say, through career services. So alumni, graduates, they have all access to these services, even after you graduate, forever and ever, as long as the services are available. Okay. So never be afraid to reach out for help. That's why we're here, and we're happy to provide that help.
Right. Professor, great. So that will take me to again to the next question.
I'm glad I'm segueing you in.
Yes, the next question is behind when I am a co-op student, when I apply for a job on the Centennial College portal, it's higher Centennial. It's for me, it's just a post and we'll apply and with the rest of our student, but nobody know like how much effort you do to get this post online for us. So can you take us through the process, the competition you go through, the networking?
Oh, okay. Well, there's a number of steps, and we've been doing this for a long time. All right. So we've developed quite a good system for bringing on new co-op employers, keeping our partnerships going with our existing employers. So co-op has been around at Centennial College for about 25 years. Okay. So this is a long-standing program, and over the years, we've added more co-op programs. All right. So I think we're up to now 55 plus, maybe more co-op programs at the college. And what we do is we network a lot with employers. So when we originally started, it was maybe through phone calls, maybe through emails. Now what we do is every recruitment cycle, which is January, May, and September, we have a huge email, because we now have a huge database of co-op employers and other employers in your industries. We send out a targeted email. Hello, are you interested in co-op? Do you know about co-op? We have a number of students available in all our programs. Here's how you get started. And we send this email out. So we send it out to existing employers and possibly new employers. And then we get employers contacting us back. So for me, all of my employers that you see on Higher Centennial, for the most part, are employers that we've had a relationship with for years. And they always come to Centennial for students. Now, there's no guarantee that they're always going to take a Centennial student, but they because we've established such a good relationship with them, they typically look at interviewing and hiring Centennial College graduates or co-op students first, okay? Then we also have job developers. So we have a couple of job developers on our team. Their job is to look for new employers, all right? So they're attending networking events, such as Chamber of Commerce meetings. They're reaching out to employers, just researching them on their computers, okay? We also ask students to provide us with company names that they may want to work for that might not be listed on Higher Centennial. We send them off to our job developers. to see if we can establish a partnership, all right? And these job developers also go to trade fairs, trade shows, conferences, anything like that, anything where they can make a connection with employers that would hire for our co-op programs, but also for our graduates as well, all right? And so we have them on board. Our students are also encouraged to job search on their own outside of Higher Centennial, correct? And so we take that information, and if a student says, I found an employer, we set that up as a co-op work term. So there's a lot of background work that gets done before the job postings even go up on Higher Centennial, okay? And any employer can have access to Higher Centennial, and if they post a position that it's a new company, we will what we call vet them. So we'll contact them. We'll ask them, well, what are you looking for? What wage do you want? So we'll do our due diligence to make sure they're going to be a good employer. And we also send them out what we call our co-op employer guidelines. We want to make sure that they're gonna offer a good work term. They're going to provide training, competitive wage to our students. Most of the time we ask that employers pay our students. We do have some employers that post unpaid positions, but it's because it's such a great experience. You get really good industry experience and connections that we post those. But most of my positions for biotech now, I'm happy to say, are paid. Okay, I didn't post any unpaid this time around. So they're learning, our co-op employers are learning that if they want qualified and satisfied co-op students to apply, giving them a wage that is appropriate and worthy of the work that they're going to be doing, we promote that to employers so that they get an understanding of, we want our students to be paid. They're going to earn it and they're worth it. Okay, so yes, a lot of background work does go, and it's not just our Higher Centennial portal that these positions go on. They are also going out to other colleges, to universities, so it is very competitive. All right, so you have to be aware that just because it's posted on Higher Centennial doesn't necessarily mean a Centennial student is going to secure that position. Okay.
That's I realized later. Like,
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's the competition is not only among us as a student in Centennial College. No, it's
And
among
it's
everybody.
not. Exactly, it's not. And this is realistic. All right, this is realistic. So we're not a placement agency, okay? And sometimes I hear through the grapevine or through gossip, I guess you could say, that sometimes students who are planning to join co-op, whatever, are told that you're guaranteed a job. Okay, if you come into co-op, you're guaranteed a job. That's misinformation. All right, we can't guarantee anybody a job. Nobody can. All right, even out in the outside world, out of college, nobody can guarantee you a job. You still have to apply and compete. So it gives you an idea of how this is going to be once you're ready to graduate, what it's going to take to secure graduate employment. All right, so we try and make it as realistic as possible. We give you the wages, you know, most of the time you're going to know what you're going to earn. It's like, oh, okay. Realistically, that's one of the things that students look at. And I tell my students all the time, you're not going to be making $50 an hour to start, okay? And then they go, what? And I go, yeah, if you're going to make $50 an hour, you tell me what that employer is, and I'm going to go work there, okay? All right, yeah. So one of the things we try and verify for our students is expectations. All right, expectations on the job. Just because something is posted on Higher Centennial And just because you have an interview doesn't mean it's a certainty that you're going to get the job. It is a competition. All right. And this is why, what do we always say in class, Ahmed? Apply to as many jobs as you can to increase your chances, right? Both on Higher Centennial and off of Higher Centennial.
Professor, regarding how realistic this offers, there is a lot of misinformation, I would say. Before I joined the program, I asked students, and how, like, is it a co-op? Is a co-op a good option? Can I go? Like, honestly, most of them told me no. But I joined the program, and when I joined program, that's the first thing I think the first question I ask, like, but in biotechnology, like, how much student applied for guaranteed a co-op, or was in a co-op program and got a job? And your reply, never listen to other students.
Yes. Okay. But every one of us would say that. Okay. And the reason I say that is you want to go directly to the source. Okay. Because there's always reasons why somebody may not have gotten a co-op worker. All right. And it's typically because they didn't apply or apply to as many, or they were too choosy. Okay. They saw jobs that were posted for $16 an hour and they thought they were going to make 25. Okay. Or the jobs posted aren't 5 minutes from home. Right. So those are sometimes the reasons. There's other reasons as well. But this is what I always say. Come to the source. I had a student that just dropped out of the co-op program because she listened to other students to say you're not going to get a job. So she didn't bother to try.
Oh, I saw that even in my class.
Yeah, she didn't even bother to try. And I'm going, why? Why didn't you come to me? I could have told you. And there were how many positions posted? You could have had a job by now. I didn't know I should. I said, how do you not know? Right. So, and that's just that's a concern for me. That's a concern for me because we have an amazing co-op program. All right. And it works if you put the effort in and if you work with me. All right. But I can't help you if you don't contact me, if you don't apply for jobs. There's nothing I can do. I don't have a magic wand to wave to say, you go here, you go there. Who am I to say where you're going to fit best in? This is part of the co-op program is you apply to the jobs that you're interested in, that you want to apply to. And this is why we also encourage you to job search outside of Higher Centennial, because when you do your research, you look at companies, you look at types of positions, and you think, oh, I found a few companies that I'm really interested in, so I'm going to reach out to them. That gives you control of the jobs that you're going to be applying for. Higher Centennial, we have control. Here's what we've got to offer you. Have a look. If you don't like what's on there, look outside of Higher Centennial. Right?
I believe some of the students come to join co-op with the expectation it's okay, like you have the magic wand to send them there, but they don't know that you have to do your own. It's so my last term, I was focused on my study. In addition, I was kind of dedicated my time to apply for jobs. Both, but like it's a real effort.
It's a struggle. It is, absolutely. And we know this, all right? And this is one of the reasons for years we have been wanting to change our class time from 1 hour to 2 hours and shorten the length of time that you're in the co-op class so that you can spend more time actually job searching. So this is why we're now down to 7 weeks in the class time total. And then you have all the remainder of that 7 weeks plus whatever's left in the semester to look for a job. You're not coming to class anymore. You're still having connections with me and meetings and I'm still supporting, but you're not in class. So you have that time now to job search more. And one of the things we teach in our co-op classes is create a plan for yourself, have a strategy, set out time in your week to job search. All right, whether it's an hour a day, whether it's 2 hours on the weekend to make your plan for the week, make a plan. All right, and follow through.
I just wanted to ask you, if you have been working as a co-op student for a long time. Do you have any good story for us, like a success story and a story that somebody didn't meet the expectation?
Okay, so two separate questions, I think. A
Yeah.
success story, okay, and then some non-success stories.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Success stories, lots. One of my biggest success stories is a co-op student from biotech who worked at a company called Bureau Veritas. It used to be called Maxim Analytics, but it's a very big testing company. And this student was there on a work term and developed a prototype for a piece of machinery that would help the company increase the speed of, I can't remember what it was, but producing something. And so his supervisor said, "This is amazing. What do we do? How can we get this done? How can we build this now? We want to partner with you." So they contacted a company out of the US who said, "Okay, we can make this for you." The college offered a $10,000 grant to this student. They completed the prototype of the piece of machinery. This company is using it. This student is now a supervisor at this company. Of course, I can't give names, okay, but he's now a supervisor at this company. All right. Steve Bouladakis, your chair, is a success story for co-op. He completed 2 co-ops at a particular company, did well, went on to university, is now the chair of your department. All right. I have a number of students that are coming back for an academic semester for winter. They are going to be working part-time for their employer while they finish off their academic semesters. They have employment waiting for them when they are done. They have firm offers. I have students that, have completed their work terms. Like I have students from the environmental program and they end on a work term. So they're lucky that they can just go from that work term into graduate employment. Okay. And one of our biggest success stories that we like to tell is we had a student from our human resources program, and she had always wanted to work at the Children's Wish Foundation. And so she found a work term there for a year, unpaid. She worked at this place for a full year unpaid because she really wanted to work for this organization. She did so well. She won Co-op Student of the Year at Centennial. She won Co-op Student of the Year nationally. And after completing her program at Centennial, she was hired at Children's Wish Foundation. She's now moved on to be the director of HR at another prestigious company. So this is how this works. Okay. A lot of my employers and other students' other co-op advisors' employers, when a company invests time in you, whether it's 4, 8, or 12 months, and you invest time in that employer, they kind of want to keep you because you're now up to productivity level. You know the procedures, the policies, you know what the company does, you know what the expectations are. So for them, it's a win-win that you stay with the company or come back to the company when you graduate. So this happens a lot. Okay, it happens a lot. Now, there are other times when it doesn't go so well. Okay, all right. And sometimes it's the student's issue, sometimes it's an employer issue. I have had, I think, one company where I had to have a student not complete the work term because it wasn't a safe environment. All right, so in an instance like that, a situation like that, we will step in and say, we're removing this student, unsafe work. And then depending on the timing of it, when we tell the student to leave, we will try and find a replacement work term for that student, or change their model route so that they can do the co-op work term at a later time, because that is not the student's fault. Okay, it was the work environment. Even though the work environment was vetted, something happened on site, unsafe work, so we removed the student. I remember a few years ago, I had a company, a good company, and they hired students for a year. The company went bankrupt. Okay, the company went bankrupt. Not our students' problem. So what we did is the company paid the students because they were only there for the first month or so before the company went bankrupt. They paid them for that 4 months. Okay, they paid the co-op students. We feel bad, so they paid them for the full 4 months, and then we found the students other positions. All right. So when it's an employer issue, we always try, as the co-op department, to try and find other resources, other situations that we can place the student into. All right. Now, there are other times when students don't quite follow through on expectations. Okay. And I think one of my more memorable ones was when a number of my students who were working at the same company, 4 of them traveled together in a car to get to this place. And then they had another friend who lived closer, and he took a bus. The ones driving the car, going in the car every morning, were always late because the driver was always late. Even though they'd tell them, get up, we've got to go. And this company had a policy where if you had 6 late times, you would be fired. You would be let go. And this company had a punch card. So you had to punch your time card in, right? So these students were on their last occurrence. They were on their 6th. They were going to be late. So they called their friend who was already at the workplace and said, we're going to be late. Can you help us? Can you take our punch cards and punch them into the time clock? And he did, but they got caught. How do you think they got caught? What was there? What was there at the entrance by the time clock?
The manager, their manager.
No, a camera.
Oh, okay.
They had a camera, right? So the person, they got, the camera showed the 4 of them coming in, and they were only a minute late. Only a minute late. But they got caught. And then when they looked at the time cards, it said, oh, shows you coming in here at 8:56 instead of 9:01 when you showed up in the camera. So they figured it out, and the 4 of them were fired. And then they come to me and say, you've got to fix this. I can't. It's a company policy. You broke it. And you broke it in a big way.
Even the guy who punched this.
No, he did not, because he had never had any, he was reprimanded. Okay. But no, he was not fired. He was given a second chance because he was a good worker. He was never late. He just was trying to help out his friends. Right. And then I've had other students who one student didn't get fired from his position, but he got a lower performance evaluation rating, I guess you could say. But it was so funny because this is a company that I've had a relationship with for years, and the VP is such a lovely man, and he is always working towards making the co-op opportunities for students. He is a big supporter of co-op. So this is a food company, and I had about 5 co-op students from Centennial working in a lab. And I went out for a site visit in person, because back then we were able to, and I met with 3, the supervisor, then the VP, and then HR. And so we were going through all the evaluations and the feedback for the 4 students, and then we get to this student. And he goes, the owner goes, okay. And he starts laughing, all right? And so did the other 2. They start laughing. I said, okay, just tell me what he did. Because I knew he probably would have, just tell me what he did. And they're laughing. Well, anywhere you go these days, you're typically going to have cameras around, correct? Especially if you're working in a state-of-the-art lab with multi-million-dollar equipment. So this student, you know, the chairs that have the wheels, the rolly chairs, so that you can go between stations. Well, he decided to go for a few laps, racing around the lab in his chair. What are you doing? But it made them laugh because this student, to use a familiar, he dances to his own drums. Okay. Such a super, super fun person, but just doesn't make good decisions at times. He didn't get fired because they liked him too much, and the owner would never do that. He was, you know, talked to, but just, I saw the video and he was having such a good time. It's like, you're supposed to be working. What are you doing? And it was quite funny. It was quite funny. But yeah, so myself and my colleagues are always saying, we're going to write a book about all the things our co-op students should not do on the job. Okay, because it's funnier than anything. Sometimes the things are called, what were you thinking? What were you thinking when you did that? Right? So, and other times it's just a lack of judgment, a lack of focus, and not following through with your co-op advisor to say, I'm having issues, I'm doing this, I'm not. Reach out to us. We're there to support while you're on your work term. And so if you're having issues, let us know. We had a student who was 2 weeks away from completing an 8-month work term with this one company. He quit 2 weeks before the end of his co-op work term. Didn't let his co-op advisor know. He got an F on his transcript and he was removed from the co-op program. But if he had let his co-op advisor know that he was struggling, that he wasn't doing well, we could have ended that work term as long as he completed the 420 hours required for co-op. We could have made an exception to have him leave his co-op work term early, still get the credit, but he didn't let us know. It was after the fact that he quit. And if you're fired for cause or quit, you know that there's consequences, right? So that was a sad one. That was a sad one. We could have fixed that, right? But if our students don't reach out to us, right, there's not much we can do about that. Yes, we've got quite a few instances where, yeah. I remember years ago, even before I started with the co-op, I was told that somebody set fire to the chem lab.
Oh.
I said, okay, yeah, because you're working with hazardous chemicals and this and that, right? It's like, okay, you got to be careful, right? And this is why one of my favorite sayings to all my students is pay attention. Pay attention, observe. Wherever you go, whatever workplace you're at, pay attention. What are people doing? Observe what they're doing. How do they do things? This is how you can help yourself fit into an organization, how they do things, okay? Making sure you do it safely, because if you see them skipping steps, right? Because sometimes people, if they've worked at a company for a long time, they can skip steps because they know what they're doing. As a co-op student, when you're just starting out, we don't skip steps, right? We do it as we're told. Okay, so yeah, any more stories? No, that's, oh yeah, sure, there's lots more. I don't want to keep boring you with that. But yeah, we do have a lot of students that I had a student who was fired. He actually worked at a different college doing IT. And I was notified that he was fired because he didn't report a phone that had been reported missing by a student. My co-op student had found the phone, and as part of their procedures, you were supposed to report that immediately to security, bring it down to security. The student didn't do that. The student kept the phone and was checking the phone and trying to get into the phone. Okay, so he was fired for dishonesty, which was one of their policies, right? So, and then he's sitting in front of me when he's back and we're reviewing everything, and he goes, I don't know why I was fired. I'm smarter than anyone. I'm from, and he named a country. He goes, I'm from here. I'm smarter than anyone. I said, well, look at where you're sitting right now. You're across the desk from me. You've been fired from a job. How smart are you now? And he goes, oh, you're right. That wasn't too smart. And unfortunately, international students, there's repercussions. There could be implications. If you're not on a work term or if you're not in class, there could be later on implications for you. So always be careful. Yeah, I thought that was funny. We said, I'm smarter than anyone. Well, yeah. What side of the desk are you sitting on right now?
Yeah, that's not smart. That's not
That's
smart.
not
That's
smart.
not,
That's
yeah.
not smart. No.
Yeah.
And then I had one student who was going for an interview and was taken on a tour of the company and came back in, sat down and said, okay, let's talk salary. I know you're going to pay $20 an hour, but I need 35.
Really? Like,
Yep.
wow.
The employer said, I have been here 15 years. I don't make $35 an hour. There's the door. Thank you for coming in. Right?
Wow.
Here's one of those expectations where students are in programs and they think they're going to earn a big wage because they've been told that. I don't know who by. If you've done your homework, you know that the wages for co-op students are not up really that high. And so I said, so what did you learn from that experience? Because not to do that. I said, yeah, probably not. I said, what happened? He said, I got nervous. I got so nervous. I said, okay, that's okay. You got nervous, but try not to do that next time. You knew the salary going in, right? And for co-op, that was a good salary like 3 or 4 years ago. That was a pretty good salary. $20 an hour is a good co-op salary. So yeah, sometimes the expectations are a little out of sync with what is reality. So our job as co-op advisors is to bring you back to that reality to say, you have to prove your worth to the employer. All right. If you're a brand new student working, a brand new person working at their place of employment, you've got to prove your worth to them, right? You can't just walk in and say, oh, I've got this, I've got that, I know how to do this, I got to do that. You're going to pay me like $40 an hour? No, we're not. And the employers.
Professor, I would like to tell you like a little story.
Absolutely.
And I would like to thank you for it. The word you said that I have to prove that I worth your money
Mhm.
is what I said for what is going in right now with me with the offer the company is offering.
Right.
And they asked me about my expectation. And if I didn't go through a co-op class with you, I would say, oh, I expect this, I expect that. But I told him I have to prove that I worth the money you will give me. I expect long-term employment with you. I expect from you to support me. I expect from myself that I will do everything I can, but I cannot discuss salary with you right now. I have to prove that I'm worthy. I'm worthy for that salary. And I get a salary I didn't expect, higher than I expected.
That's good. Okay. And that's what we encourage people to do is first do your research, figure out what might be the going rate for that type of position, because you can find that information out. And then what you do is you try and give a range. Okay. Once I prove my worth to you, I would hope to negotiate a wage between this. But first of all, I have to prove that I'm worth it to you. And that's exactly what you had to say.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly. I know something in mind, like, but I
Yeah.
didn't. I have my range in mind. I
Yeah.
didn't tell him my range
Yeah.
because he might offer something better, and he did.
Better. Well, exactly. And see, that's where you also have to be cautious is when you give a number, you may either buy yourself into a job because it was lower than what they were going to pay you originally, or you've outpriced yourself from a job because, hey, you didn't do your homework and you didn't know that this company typically pays between, let's say, 20 and 22, and you asked for 30, right? So you can buy your way in or you can get your way out of a job. So this is all part and parcel of what we try and teach you in co-op of how to handle these situations, because that's one of the trickiest questions that you're ever going to get at an interview.
And I would
What
thank you for that because
Yeah.
without you telling me this, I was going to tell, oh, I need 35, like $35 per hour. Like what's the same student?
Right.
I would say the same, but
Yeah,
because
exactly. Yeah.
you taught me how to answer this question,
Yeah.
I am here right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
And yeah,
I'm glad I was helpful.
absolutely, Professor, you have no idea. You changed the way I search jobs. The way
Good.
I write the way I write my CV now is completely different. I used to write it 2 years ago. The
Mhm.
way I write my cover letter is totally different than the way I used to write it. And we even now, when even I'm on a co-op term and I'm going for a long for employment, full-time permanent employment, sometimes I apply for jobs. I'm becoming more selective, but I apply for more jobs.
Mhm.
Like 90% of job I applied, with the way you taught me how to write my CV and cover letter, I'm getting called back.
Good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Even I
Right?
choose where I go now and everything, but the way you change the way I
Yeah.
write my resume and I write my cover letter is amazing. It's really working. And even I got calls from other students, my friends,
Mhm.
Centennial, who didn't get a co-op classes, asking me to help to write their resume. One of them get a job. He's working now.
Excellent. So we do know some things. Okay. We are pretty good at what we do.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Right?
I assure
Yeah.
that. I assure that.
Okay.
Guys, I'll let you go, but the last question I would ask,
Okay.
if you can have advice for for a student that who's thinking to join a co-op
Mhm.
program, what was this advice would be?
Think hard about it. Okay. Because it is a lot of work. There is a commitment. There is a cost. And this is one thing that I don't like to see, that the cost is still applied, but you haven't got a co-op work term. But there, as I said earlier, there's always a reason typically why you don't get a co-op work term. Think hard about what you want to do. Before you come into co-op, think about why you're in your program. think about the type of work that you want to do. Do a self-assessment. Look at the labor market. Things here in Canada are done differently, maybe in where you're from or what you've learned before. So it requires extra effort. You've got all your other courses that you have to take, but you're also having to do work for us. Okay. So think long and hard. And what do you hope to achieve from co-op? And is it really going to assist you? Some students aren't ready for co-op. They think they are, but they're not. For whatever reason, they haven't determined if they are even in the right program. And that's one thing that I had a student who came into co-op, and he was in biotech, and he came in and he only applied for one job, and that was at a company where he had his uncle working. Didn't hear anything back. And when I said, what's going on? We're going to have to transfer out of co-op. I'm really interested in business. I said, well, then what are you doing in biotech? Kind of thing. So, and we have a lot of students who are maybe have chosen a different program that they wanted to. All right. Do your homework. Do your research. Figure out what it is that you want. All right. Do a self-assessment. What are you good at? If you are not good at math, if you're not good at chemistry, you may not want to go into biotech, right? You have to think of these things. I had a student who came with his parents, and I typically try to engage the student, not the parents, but the parents wanted this student to be a nurse and then to be eventually become a doctor. And I said, well, what do you want? He goes, well, I'm okay with that. Well, what don't you like about it? He goes, I don't like the sight of blood. I'm like, well, then you're not going to make a very good nurse if you can't stand the sight of blood. And the parents go, what? I said, let's think of something else. What are you really interested in? I like math. I like accounting. Okay, well then. So sometimes you have outside forces helping you make decisions, okay? And then sometimes you have inner voices are saying, I don't think I'm smart enough to do that. And this is where we have resources at the college that can help you do some self-assessment and figure out what you're good at, what your interests are, because the one thing that you want to do is make sure you make informed decisions about your future, having enough information at your hands to make those decisions. Okay, so think about you. What do you want? What's your story?
Oh, thanks, Professor. That's really, really amazing. Thanks a lot for your time.
You're very welcome.
And I think this will be very informative for a biotech club. I expect a viral viewing for this.
I hope so. Let me know. And if there's anything else you need, send anybody my way. I'm always happy to help. You know that. And I'm always on campus on Tuesdays. For now, I don't know what my schedule will be like for winter coming up, but I'm always available. Okay. And I'm always here to help. All right.
Thanks for your time, Professor. I think the first time I met a co-op advisor or a coordinator was with you. I don't remember. I don't think you remember, but we were 3 students came in to your office, and we were upset that why we didn't get 16117. Do you remember?
I do.
Was
yes, and that's always been a chat. That's one of our other challenges. We're hoping that will be not a consideration going forward. There's some talks in place where some of our criteria will change, because one of the things that all of the co-op advisors in our department have been concerned about is students not being able to access co-op because of the criteria. One particular criteria, right?
Yeah.
So,
I was one of the lucky students that I was able to apply from and combine 16117 together.
Yes.
But a lot of students doesn't.
Timing and space, exactly, right? So we have been very cognizant of that for the last few years, okay? And so We have been working behind the scenes again, okay, talking to people that can help us do this, and we are fairly close to making an announcement. Okay,
Okay.
that's all I'll say, but it's good news.
Yeah,
Okay.
hopefully it's a good news for
It's good
everybody.
news. It's good news. All right. I'm very happy. I'm very happy. It's something that we've pushed for a long time. All right. So hoping that it comes through. Okay.
All right, Professor.
I want to thank you very much for asking me to do this. I was very touched when you asked me. Okay. Because I like knowing that I might have a positive impact. This is why I do my job, right? Is knowing that my students find what I do helpful. That's why I do it.
Professor, I vouch for that.
Okay.
Your positive impact is amazing. At least on myself, I would talking about it's amazing. It completely changed the way I look for jobs, the way I perform my job, the way I think when I see a boss, how I react to this boss, it's you always in mind.
Yeah, good. Good.
Yeah, and I assure you that a lot of students has the same idea. Maybe they didn't reach out, but they have the same concept, the same idea.
That's good. And I'm glad you're there to help them. Okay. I'm glad you're there to help them. You've been a good ambassador for the co-op program. And I have no doubt that you are going to be very successful in your new role. No doubt about it. Okay.
Thank
you,
Professor.
They are very lucky to have you join them.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay.
Right.
I will talk with you again soon. Okay. But enjoy your Friday off.
Thank you, Professor. I'll stop recording now.
Okay. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.